Previews world, I'm Natasha, and this is the Indie Edge, where we bring you the ever-evolving, ever-diversifying world of creator-owned comics straight to you. And today we are on location at New York Comic Con. Today's episode is really special because we're not going to just show you some great comics, tell you about great comics, but we're going to get a chance to talk to the creators, writers, and artists who are bringing you these indies comics and bringing them to life. Let's take a look.
Sheekha Fly is about a 15-year-old girl named Luna. She has a kind of very specific type of OCD called pure O, where it's all obsessive ruminations. And so she appears normal in her high school life and at home, gets good grades, but she's kind of paralyzed with these intrusive thoughts she's having all the time that really upset her. She then ends up seeing a woman flying through the sky in the city of Chicago. Everybody sees it. And it becomes this national news story, so much so that after like 11 appearances, people kind of get bored with it. But Luna is obsessed and kind of grabs onto this story and wants to know more about this woman, who she is, why she's flying, and it kind of becomes this irrational salvation in her mind that she has to follow and get all the answers to. And so we've done that through 2 arcs. We did 4 issues in the first, and then 5 in the second. And so the second volume is out in December and the first volume's out now.
Grendel's kind of the story of an anti-hero, and I created it in a stage where there weren't any anti-heroes in comics at that point. Decided to do a story about a villain, but the villain was very attractive. And the guy that was ostensibly the good guy was very bestial and savage and not the typical good guy at the time. So over the years then, we've continued the storyline and we just keep reinventing it. Grendel's a generational character. The persona of Grendel moves from different incarnation to different incarnation and literally covers centuries of story time, moving far, far ahead into the future into a kind of post-apocalyptic world. And that brings us to Grendel Prime, who is the star of the new series. So.
So Dead End Kids is my book from this year. I don't know if you heard of it.
A little bit. I've seen some stuff online.
Yeah, we sold a few copies. But it's the story of 3 kids in 1999 trying to solve their friend's murder. It's a little Stand By Me a little bit, Hardy Boys. A little more violent, a lot darker. But I wanted to just write a book about childhood trauma and like sort of the crappy things that happened to you as a kid, and how the truly traumatic ones, like, do they affect whether you become like a good person when you grow up, or if you that you're damned, from the start, kind of. And I have my own opinions about that, based on like the life I've lived. And the book sort of had a life of its own and decided it had a different opinion than me. So the book and I are fighting.
Rotobones is about 3 inmates in the Soviet Gulag in the 1950s who escape into Siberia and a much worse situation than the worst prison on Earth. So
it's a comedy.
It's a comedy, yeah. It's lighthearted, a lot of dancing and singing, musical numbers. It's hard. It's like straight up hard. It's like these guys are like out in the wilderness with not enough food, exposed to the elements, so things get pretty gnarly.
Nice. And then tell us about Wailing Blade.
Wailing Blade is totally different. Wailing Blade's kind of like my love letter to like insane science fiction fantasy. It's like awesome. Over-the-top action, guys with huge muscles and huge weapons going to war with each other. It's kind of like far, far future, after this spacefaring society has collapsed and the warlords left on Earth are the ones that control kind of like the last little bits of that that technology from that previous era. And one of the most powerful ones is the Wailing Blade, the weapon. So it's about a guy whose father is sentenced to be executed at the hands of the Wailing Blade. So he comes up with the plan to ambush the head taker, who's the executioner, and kind of take the blade and try to use it to start a revolution.
Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to talk with us today. If you are interested and want to dive more into these indie comics, head over to comicshoplocator.com to find a local comic shop near you.